hello, 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 hello. Alright. So we're back. And we got through the workday. Amen. Right? That's part of the battle. I always say that's part of the battle. And so we made it through the workday. And now we're gonna do our little car talk and figure out what it is we're gonna talk about, because I've been doing these talks now for a little bit. Not too long, but for a little bit. And I was having thoughts earlier about things that I want to do, things that I've been wanting to do for a while. And like one of the things that I was thinking about doing was writing a book.
Complete.
I was thinking about writing a book about my life, going into what it is that I've experienced, what it is that I've been through, growing up back in New York, and trying to go through and write my thoughts down to give a little perspective on my life, so that as people may come across my channel, that they decide, that they get to know me a little better as a person, because I'm a person. I am a real human being, and I'm not without my flaws, just like any old person that you can meet out there in the world, where if I met you, whether it was years ago or met you today, I would talk to you like a regular person, like a regular human being, or at least I would like to think I would. I can't say that I talk with everybody the same, because I'm a very, I don't want to say I'm private, but I'm not the type of person that socializes with everybody and is trying to know everybody's business and trying to know, what's going on and what's good and this and this and this and that. I've always assumed that people, when you meet someone, if you have a connection with them, you want to know more about them, right? You just want to be like, you seem like a chill person, and I think like part of this channel, because I've never done this before, with as far as like putting myself out there on a channel, I'm just not that type of person that always wanted to rush into things, and so I try to take my time with understanding like technology, and then how do I use technology? How do I go about integrating it into my life? Because technology, as wonderful as it can appear to be, it's not without its downsides. It can consume you. It can take up a lot of your time. It can take up a lot of your funds, and then you wind up thinking that it's gonna be all gravy, and it's gonna help you do this and that, and then you find out, you're like, dude, it becomes one of those things where it sucks you in like a black hole, and then before you know it, it's like all you know is technology. All you know is that you need something new and you need to spend more money. And so for years I kind of sat back and like watched things develop, but I paid attention to a lot to what was going on in the world. So it's not that I wasn't paying attention to other things. It's just I wasn't immersed in technology the way that other people that I've known within my family or within my circle of friends, like they got consumed, man. Like they see technology like out the gate. They saw it as like the end all to be all. And so I don't know, I just wasn't like that. I wasn't like that. And so I'm kind of happy to be here now and being able to get to talk a little bit. And now that kind of like the rush of the whole thing with technology is all, you know, I don't want to say it's run its course, but for a lot of people, they're burnt out, man. They're either burnt out or they're on full throttle trying to push and keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing. And so I feel for them. And so like this channel is in part to like slow things down a little bit, right? Let's just slow things down a little bit, and let's maybe just use technology for a little bit less, you know, like full throttle, and let's try putting it maybe on a slower gear, and then just putting it on cruise control. And let's see if we can get anywhere. Let's see. It's not, you know, it's not, you're not in a race, you know, you're in a marathon, or you're not in a marathon, you're in a journey, right? So I'm not trying to rush to get somewhere. I'm just trying to find a way to express my viewpoints and share a little bit about who I am as a person, to be able to maybe resonate and maybe connect with others out there in the world that might find it, you know, enjoyable to hear some of the things that you know, that might be shared on this channel. And so, you know, whether you're young, whether you're old, whether you're in the middle of your life and you're just finding yourself in a place where you're like, you know what, I need something a little bit more grounded, a little bit more, I don't want to say real, but something a little bit more connected to reality, so that I'm not all off, you know, chasing the white rabbit, and then find out that I don't even know where I am. Now I'm lost, because I don't even know where the white rabbit is. I don't know who's the white rabbit. I don't know why the white rabbit makes a difference in wanting to chase the white rabbit. But let's do this. Because over the summer, this past summer, I took some time and I was watching some videos, and one of the videos that I came across was having to do with Alice in Wonderland. And so if you don't know what the white rabbit is, the white rabbit originates from Alice in Wonderland. Okay, now maybe prior to Alice in Wonderland, maybe there was more talk of a white rabbit, but basically I believe I think it was Lewis Carroll is the person that wrote Alice in Wonderland. And Alice in Wonderland, it was a remake, or it was done with Disney. Disney had done it like back in, I don't know. See, these are the things I started to look into. I started doing a little bit of research and just trying to go back and watch it, because it's a real interesting piece, and Disney has its own take on it. And so the book itself, the novel, I've never actually sat down. I didn't have to read Alice in Wonderland in any of the courses that I've ever taken. So whether in high school, I never had to read it in high school, and I didn't have to read it in college. And so it's one of those things that, like, when I was sitting down and like watching the cartoon version, the Disney version, I was like, man, dude, there is so much going on with this. And just trying to analyze it or break it down from my perspective at this age, like I was blowing myself away. I was like, oh my God, dude. I was like, this is unbelievable, dude. This is like, you know, watching a story that has so much depth to it. I mean, this thing, it goes over so much without saying, you know, with saying very little. And so, you know, some of the scenes, like, the whole point of the white rabbit is that the white rabbit is late for a date. And it starts out, the Disney version, it starts out where Alice is like, she's outside. I think she just happens to be outside, and all of a sudden there's a rabbit. She comes across a rabbit. At some point she comes across a rabbit, and the rabbit is saying he's late for a very important date. And so, what I started to do, because as a young boy, you watch the movie, and the main character of the movie is Alice. It's a girl named Alice. And so, as a young boy, I wasn't necessarily trying to understand the main character, or what it was that she was going through, or the fact that she was like a young girl, right? And it never dawned on me, because as a young person, like, one of the things about the culture of this country is that they talk about the sexes, and they talk about the genders, and they talk about how there's differences, but they never talk about the differences. They never talk about the biological differences, or how it is that young men experience life, or young boys, versus a young girl, a young woman, how she experiences life. And back in the 80s, when kids were being raised, like, you didn't necessarily have this understanding of like what a girl goes through when she's going through adolescence. All you know is that girls are different from boys, and boys are different from girls. And in my case, I didn't have an older sister in my family, so, and I never connected with any older girls around me in my area to help me make sense of any of the things that when you're growing up, that you need to understand. Because if you're never told these things, you kind of miss a big part in life, in understanding how society works and functions. And so with Alice in Wonderland, she's got this white rabbit, and the white rabbit is kind of going off saying that he's late, and then he's got a very important date, and Alice is kind of like concerned for the rabbit, and she's kind of like, you're late, what are you late for, where are you going, what what is it, what's the matter, how come you're not how come you're not just slowing down, or like, what is it that you have to do? And so the white rabbit, he's got no time to talk. He's like, I'm late, I gotta go, I got no time, I gotta go, right? And so she's like trying to keep up with the rabbit, but like, in a physical world, if you ever come across a rabbit, rabbits are pretty fast animals. Like, when a rabbit needs to take off, a rabbit is gonna take off. And people from England that understand, the animal kingdom, and that have these animals in their areas, they're very, descriptive. They understand animals. When you grow up in the United States, however, you don't necessarily have this understanding the way that people from England may have it, because England, one, is an island, okay? And I grew up on an island myself. So growing up on an island is very different than growing up on the mainland. And people from England can appreciate that. People from Ireland, the United Kingdom, Scotland, Wales, like, these places, they understand that they live on an island. So their economy, their society, their government, it functions a certain way. And so, having grown up on an island myself, if you've never grown up on an island, you can't really appreciate what it means and how things work and function. And it's one of those things that, like, you just don't understand what that's like. Like, coming from the United States, if there's islands in the continent of the U.S., but if you don't grow up on an island, if you don't know what it's like, then you don't know what it's like to be connected to an island versus what it's connected to be on the mainland. And so the appreciation that you get for the passing on of information or the talking about different things having to do with understanding life in this way, it's going to go over your head. Like, you can't appreciate the context or the detail of what it means when you have an occurrence happening, like seeing a rabbit. So in real life, you see a rabbit, and a wild rabbit, and that rabbit doesn't stick around long, man. When that you might see a rabbit right there, and when that rabbit feels threatened, or when it feels like it's time to book it, like, that rabbit is gonna be out. There's not gonna be any time to talk to the rabbit. You come across a white rabbit in the wild, like, that rabbit's not gonna be looking to talk, right? So the fact that this little girl, she comes across this rabbit, and the rabbit's talking, and she's got time to talk to the rabbit, in and of itself is kind of like astounding. Like, you're kind of like, this girl's talking to the rabbit, like, the rabbit's moving, the rabbit's like in a rush, right? So this kind of phantasma or fantastical kind of, literature that's going on in the language and in the telling of the story, that it's kind of like, okay, you got to understand these things on a deeper level, right? So that's one of the aspects of it. But then the other aspect of it is that on the biological side, if you're a little girl and you're going through things on a physical side of stuff, and you're just coming of age, and you're hearing, you're late for a very important date. To me, when I was listening to it at this age, I said, what a little girl must be thinking about when she's watching this movie, Alice in Wonderland. Because if you happen to be a young person who's going through adolescence, and I don't think there's a male version of this for boys, like, what's the equivalent of Alice in Wonderland for boys? But again, listening to the story and then understanding it at my age, to say that, wow, this is talking on deep levels. And when a girl is watching Alice in Wonderland, there's a lot of stuff going on, and what must be going on through a girl's mind. And so I can understand why Alice in Wonderland is a classic, and all this stuff that she goes through. Because there's another part where she chases the white rabbit, and the white rabbit gets away from her, and then she's still trying to follow along, and she's got to eat things. She gets to the point where she's supposed to go through a door, and this door, the door has a doorknob, and the doorknob talks to her, and the doorknob is like telling her, you need a key, like, to get through this door, like the door is locked. And she finds out through the whole experience of eating things, that it's like she makes herself small, and then she winds up finding out she made herself small, but then she needs to get a key, and the key is a big key, so she needs to make herself big again, so she's got to eat something again. And the whole time she's contemplating, like, to eat something and not know what it's going to do to you. It could be a poison. You know what I mean? And so, just all these things. Like, if you're a college girl and you're watching Alice in Wonderland, or you're like an elementary school age girl and you're watching Alice in Wonderland, and I'm thinking to myself, man, dude, but I watched this movie and I never thought about this movie in the context of what a girl must be thinking of, or what a girl must be thinking about when she's watching this movie. Because as a man or as a boy watching the movie, I just thought it was fantastical. I was like, man, none of this stuff makes any sense to me, but it's like, it's pretty cool to watch because there's all this stuff going on. But it was kind of crazy. I was like, this is just kind of like a crazy book, a crazy movie. And so I never appreciated it as much as I did, again, when I was spending just a little bit of time to watch the movie and to try to understand, how did this person write this book and know to write all about this stuff, and then to be able to, have it, become a classic, and for all these people to read it in England. And so I think what I might do is I might do a little research on, again, I think it's Lewis Carroll. I think the last name is Carroll, but I think the first name is Lewis. To try to find out who he was as a person, and then, because I know he's got history too. And I'm sure he's got to have other books that he's written. But Alice in Wonderland is probably the classic that he wrote that everybody knows him by. And again, at the time that he was writing and the time that it became popular, I mean, it's one of those things that, like, again, there's a lot of nuance in it and a lot of talk of, drugs and just, all fantastic stuff. Probably most likely spiritual stuff going on, stuff that he was into. So I think what I might try to do is I might try to do a little research on the author itself, and then I'll come back to it, and then I'll see if I could give a little perspective, because everybody that knows the White Rabbit, everybody knows the White Rabbit on the more modern version of people saying the White Rabbit, you're gonna chase the White Rabbit, has to do with the Matrix. And the Matrix having to do with Keanu Reeves, who played Neo in the Matrix. And then that's how he kind of starts his journey to becoming, the person that Morpheus is looking to find in the trilogy, in the Matrix, to be able to find, that he's the one that's going to save humanity from the destruction of the machines. And so it's an interesting thing, when you're talking about the White Rabbit and chasing the White Rabbit, and then what does it mean? So maybe what I'll do is I'll do a little rewind on it, do a little research on Lewis Carroll, if that's his name, because I'll make sure that I know his name, okay, the next time I talk about him. And then I'll go into it, and then maybe that'll be a nice little card talk. I'll try to do a little card talk. Most of my things have been card talk, so I'm not really doing anything like in a sit down office type environment where I can kind of talk about things, and then to set up a computer and then do video and things like that. So I'm contemplating it. I got to figure out how to do it. I got to figure out software to use and things like that. So, but hopefully it's an idea that I'll follow up with. And if anything, that's all I got for now. It's Monday, and so don't forget to chase the White Rabbit this week. And hopefully that's a good thing. Hopefully you're chasing the right White Rabbit and not the wrong White Rabbit that's going to take you down a tunnel and make you eat all things and make you go crazy and meet all these crazy people, the Mad Hatter and that whole lot. And so, yeah, either go watch the movie, the Disney movie, it's worth a watching, or go read the book if you got time to read the book, and then come back and listen to the channel, and then maybe you'll comment if I put something up on it, and you could give me some details if that's something that you're into. All right, that's all I got. Peace out. We'll talk to you soon.